The managerial merry-go-round spins and will continue to spin through the summer. And it looks like one of the horses is going to be occupied by Gerhard Struber. John Percy of The Telegraph has gone big on this one, saying Gerhard Struber will be the next manager at Bristol City. All done and dusted, going to be confirmed at some point this week. Assuming this does happen, I want to know your take down there in the comments on Struber. How do you think he will do at Bristol City? Is he a good replacement for Liam Manning? Can he equal what Liam Manning did and give Bristol City playoff football again next season? Can he go one better? You all know what that means. Or is it going to be a little bit trickier for Struber in next season's championship than it was for Manning in last season's championship? Let me know your thoughts down there on all of the above or the previous, as it's not written down as I've just said it. But what is written down in front of me on that monitor is quite a long and varied managerial history there for Gerhard Struber. He's only 48. I say it's varied. He's obviously a Red Bull guy, isn't he? So he has worked for Salzburg as manager. Wolfsberger, that was previously prior to Barnsley, that I can talk about in a bit more detail, obviously. New York, back to Salzburg again. FC Köln in Germany. I think they are a second-tier German team. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But what we do know about Struber and what our good frame of reference is, and frankly, my only one as it pertains to him, is his work as the Barnsley manager, which was back in the 2019-2020 season, which, yes, spoiler alert, was the weirdest season in the history of football because it was the COVID season. Now, I've just gone back and done a little bit of checking because my memories of Struber were of a manager that came in refreshingly front-footed, considering he was at Barnsley with a kind of small budget and you'd argue a less competitive playing squad than pretty much all of the championship. I think they'd just been promoted the previous season from League One, hadn't they? I think I'm remembering that correctly. New to the championship in some way, shape or form. Anyhow, and I did check back and they were well bottom of the table when Struber, I think they had like 1 point or something. And this is fairly deep into the autumn before the world is going to shut down in a few months' time. And my memory did not deceive me. Yes, there's the massive caveat of the weirdness of the stoppage and the elongated but then squished season at the end. But Barnsley finished on 49 points. And it was a hell of an escape, wasn't it? Because I think it was last-minute wins in the last couple of games. Yeah, against Forest and down at Brentford in the very, very last second of the season to take it to 49 points. And one other caveat, Wigan were well safe, weren't they? And they went into administration with that ridiculous takeover that immediately relegated them, taken over straight into administration. All the good work done by Paul Cook there, undone. And Barnsley were above the line as a result. And it was aggressive. It was intense. And Struber himself was intense. And right at the start of the next season, I got a first-hand account of the intensity of Struber because I covered a game at Reading where Barnsley had, I can't remember who it was, probably a Scandinavian centre-half. Someone fact-checked me in the comments, was red-carded fairly early in the game. And I had press accreditation that day, so I was in the press conference afterwards. And I asked Mr. Struber, I said, I've been watching English football a long time, and what normally happens when an away team particularly gets a red card early in a game is we get a 4, a 4, a 1, and we sit, and away we go. And you didn't do that. You left 2 up top, and you kept kind of going for it, and they ultimately lost the game. And he kind of smiled at me and laughed and said, come on, I'm here to win football matches. I'm not going to sit in a low block and try and draw a game. It's my nature. I believe in pressing football. I believe in attacking football. I'm going to do that with 10 men or 11 men. And I thought it was pretty cool, actually. Fairly brave. And maybe that's why Barnsley stayed up the previous season under Struber in respects of you can try and draw your way to survival and do the whole point per game thing if you're close, or you can go for it. And it did work for him. So I think the first thing I would say in terms of what Bristol City fans can expect, I know a lot of managers are like this, aren't they? They're alpha male, they're hyperactive, they're intense when you speak to them. There's something about them. He very, very much fits that characteristic. And if nothing has changed in the past 4 or 5 years, whenever that was, expect aggression, expect pressing, expect intensity, and expect Bristol City to fall on their sword, trying to win games, basically. So that may be good news for Bristol City fans. And I suppose we can spin the conversation now into what they have had and what they're going to have. And certainly there's a link up in terms of Liam Manning with pressing football, although, and I think people sometimes buy into the Red Bull thing a bit too much, but I have seen it with my own eyes, probably a bit more aggressive in that regard, because what Liam Manning and what Liam Manning's Bristol City teams were very good at was, not that it was risk averse, but they played in a controlled way. So they did press, but they rarely kind of left themselves with their pants down in terms of counter attacks, and were pretty good sort of defensively as a result. I always said about Liam Manning that at his worst he was overly methodical, and at his best he was overly methodical, and sometimes it became slightly slower paced. But I think at their best we saw a Bristol City team that did press well and open the pitch, and very strategically sort of were able to switch play and exploit spaces in a way that didn't leave them, as I say, for want of a better phrase, with their pants down to the counter attack. And what can Bristol City fans expect, really? Because on the one hand, and look, I always get accused of being overly optimistic, and spoiler alert, I do think this is a good hire. I do like Struber, and I do like the matchup and the meshing of Struber and Bristol City. But what I will say as a negative is it's sometimes not the best time to take over a club when they've probably just punched above their weight. And I think there's a few things that happened last season. I mean, they may happen again next season, but they may well not happen again next season. I don't think you'll get in the playoffs with 68 points next season. So, I don't know. It's like whether you believe in this or not, taking the points from one season and then applying it to the next season is kind of irrelevant, isn't it? It's a race. It's a league. You finish where you finish in that season. And, if 80 points gets you promoted one season and 92 doesn't the next, then, getting 80 points is arguably better because you won the race. But that's a very long-winded way of saying, I think if Bristol City perform to the level they did last season, there's a chance that the league might be a bit stronger and they won't be in the playoffs or near the playoffs, so to speak. And it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because everybody kind of thinks Bristol City's a good job. Speak for myself. I think Bristol City's a good job. We always go into the cliches about that particular part of the world being underserved, particularly when it comes to Premier League football. And if you're an American billionaire at the moment, you're always looking for proximity to the Premier League and a wide scope of audience or customers, as investors would call them. We call them fans, in terms of being able to build a massive Premier League football club and asset. And I suppose Bristol City has a lot of those things going for it. They did have a real go, didn't they, back sort of 18, 19. Funnily enough, I looked, I froze the league table at the moment. Struber left Barnsley back in the start of 2020. And after three, everybody, who was top of the league when he left? It was only 4 games in. You guessed it, it was actually Bristol City. So they flirted with it over the years. But have we ever tangibly, in the last decade or so, I only got to the playoff final years before, was it like 17 years ago? I don't know, 08, 09, 10, something around that. But since then, they've not really tangibly challenged to a point where we've been, right, they look a real good bet for promotion. Even last season, there was a bit of a sense of, oh, there's an open door here. Somebody's getting in with a low total. Who's it going to be? oh, it's Bristol City. And then they lost in the semi-final. There's never a case of these look really hot for promotion this season. I think they are going to do it. So in terms of the expectations, I almost think it's a difficult season to come in because of playoff football last season. And I would say that I think this is a good hire. I would also say that if Struber puts Bristol City 10th, 9th, 8th, within a stone's throw of the playoffs, I think that's a good performance. I don't think that if you're a Bristol City fan, I mean, look, if you're a Bristol City fan, you can view it how you like. That's how freedom of speech and opinion works. But my thought are that I don't think it's automatically a bad season if they're a couple of places lower, provided there's some kind of build going on here. And I think that's been the difficulty that Bristol City fans have had, that they don't think Mr. Lansdowne is quite as aggressive as he once was since austerity Bristol City under Nigel Pearson and the kind of reset. And they have done it fairly cheaply. I know there's been money spent there with Manning in terms of average middling championship clubs. Bristol City, yeah, fine. But you know the deal. You're up against horrible parachute clubs each and every year. And I suppose two of them went last season, didn't they? But the third one didn't in the playoff final when Sunderland beat Sheffield United. So you're going to have Sheffield United, whatever Leicester looks like in terms of points deductions, Ipswich, Southampton as well. And then will the middle order get it right in terms of Watford, Norwich, Bristol City, West Brom? I didn't mean Bristol City. I meant Middlesbrough. I'm literally talking about Bristol City right now. So if they do, that makes it more difficult for Bristol City and for Gerhard Struber to get things really right next season. So look, I always love a good game of best case and worst case scenario. Best case scenario, I think, for Bristol City, Struber is better than Manning. The football is a little bit more intense, and that's top four. That's an automatic promotion chase with a decent bit of recruitment as well. It's possible. It really, really is possible. Although Birmingham are going to be a nuisance as well this season, speaking of the new order, let alone the middle order, and where Wrexham going to finish. Worst case scenario is this guy has had some quite short tenures at some jobs. So if it really blows up, it'll blow up early, and the worst case scenario is he'll be gone in the autumn. And he won't suffer fools gladly. And as I say, it's probably all or nothing, isn't it? Will Bristol City meander around 12th, 13th, 14th place? Probably not. It'll probably either be fair or foul. Spectacular success or failure, won't it? Which I suppose as a fan you like. So I like the hire. I would suspect it will work. Famous last words. But keep your context, Bristol City fans, because it working this season could mean Bristol City are 11th, and that's a good season because Birmingham might be good, Wrexham might be good, Middlesbrough might get it right, Watford, Norwich, West Brom, parachute teams times 4. I think I've just counted 10 fingers up on my hand. So you see what I'm saying? I think in context, how we judge it is very, very important. But it's enough from me. Let me know your thoughts if you're a Bristol City fan, if you're a fan of a team who's expected to be in those 10 names I've just picked out as possible challenges. Let me know. Do you see Bristol City as a bigger threat now? We've got any Barnsley fans in? Let me know your memories of Gerhard Struber. Plenty on the channel, hopefully coming up this week. So we'll stick something up there. Do you know what? I might let YouTube, you can type in best for viewer. I'll let YouTube recommend something that's going to come up there. Stick with us because there's going to be more managerial news, I suspect, this week. Maybe at Middlesbrough, QPR. I don't know what the hell is happening at Leicester and Sheffield Wednesday as well. And hopefully the proper confirmation of Gerhard Struber. In the meantime, give me your early thoughts right now.